I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for this installment of Waterplay's webinar series. This presentation will cover the spring startup of an aquatic play area where the water is supplied by a water treatment system. We will discuss the major items for starting up the system. Not all parks will have all of the items mentioned, but this is intended to apply to a wide variety of park operators. The topics for today are general inspection of a splash pad and equipment, collecting up the tools and parts that will be needed to prepare the park for the season, scheduling the services of departments outside of your own, setting up the controller, how the water flows through the system, some frequently asked questions. Prior to scheduling up the startup date, you will want to have a general look over the splash pad and associated water treatment equipment in order to assess the condition of the components and splash pad surface. This will help you in making an estimate in the amount and type of tools required, as well as the number of personnel required. You want to collect or have ready access to a number of tools and supplies. The bolts that hold the nozzles in place and that are used to mount the panels require the use of tamper-resistant or security tools. There will be a number of security tools that were supplied with the park when it was first shipped. Along with these tools were also shipped tools to remove the nozzles from the components. Other tools and equipment that you might want available are a ladder, fasteners, both the ones for any panels that were removed, as well as spares for any bolts that need to be replaced because of wear or damage or for other reasons, wrenches, pliers, multi-point screwdrivers, touch-up paint, anti-seize compound, non-abrasive cleaning solution, broom, and garbage bags or cans. You will need to locate the panels and other items that were removed for the winterization, as well as the fasteners required to attach them to the components. Locate the display nozzles for the park and inspect them for broken or damaged O-rings. Clean them of any debris that might block the water display holes. Replacement nozzles, O-rings, and tools can be ordered from Waterplay. As well, Waterplay has most, if not all, of the original graphics that were used in the park on file, and we can have the panels remanufactured for you. You'll want to notify any outside services that need to be aware of when you are planning to start the park. Often city facilities, where water meters might freeze, will remove the water meter for the winter and then reinstall them in the spring. As well, some facilities will turn the power off to the controller at a main panel which you might not have access to. Ensure that the valves to the manifold are shut off prior to turning on the main water line. If the controller has been off for more than 10 to 15 days, the current date and time will need to be updated. All the other settings that were in place when the system was winterized are stored in the controller's memory and shouldn't need to be entered, but it is worth becoming familiar with these screens. If the operator's manual for the controller as well as the original sequence settings have been misplaced, they are available through electronic download from Waterplay. With pumps turned off, remove and clean any filters that are present on the system. Reconnect or tighten plumbing that was removed for winterization. This could include drains on filters, pumps, and water meters. If you're unfamiliar with any of the components of the water treatment system, please review the manufacturer's manual prior to working with the equipment. The blank nozzles on the splash pad can be removed, but do not install the display nozzles at this time. Once all the filters have been cleaned and or replaced, the low point drains can be closed. If the UV quartz sleeve was removed during the winterization process, it will need to be installed before the water is turned on to the system or the pumps are primed. Check each solenoid on the manifold to ensure that they are in the closed or off position. Turn them in the clockwise direction until they are snug. They do not need to be overly tight. The pumps can now be primed. You will need power to the water treatment system to complete this step. Waterplay controllers need to be turned on. Clean the holding tank if needed and fill with fresh water. Close water lines to chemical sample cells. During the priming process, always be checking for water leaks and tightening or replacing parts as needed. Once the holding tank is full of clean water, the filter pump can be primed, provide easy access for air, such as air release valves on the sand filters if they are equipped with them. Once the filter pump has been primed, the sand filter should be backwashed. Install chemical analyzing probes. Permit them to acclimatize to the water for about 2 hours before starting to balance the chemicals. When you do start to balance chemicals, do it in a slow and methodical way. Once the filter pump is primed, the feature pump can be primed in much the same manner that the filter pump was primed. How the water moves through the filter system, as well as the water flow through the component side of the system, is illustrated in this drawing. The diverter screen should be checked and cleaned if required. The screening material needs to be checked for holes. As it is being used, the screening material will wear and break as well as pull away from the attachment points. These holes should be repaired prior to putting the screen into service. Discoloration of the fasteners, the screen, or the screen frame is not necessarily a reason to replace the unit. Once the manifold has been charged with water and no leaks are evident, you can use the test menu in the controller to open each valve in turn to flush out any sediment or debris that might be in the lines. Turn one valve on at a time, turning it off prior to turning on the next valve. Listen and look for water leaks. Once all the lines have been flushed, the display nozzles can be installed in the components. Exit the test menu, as the activators will not start the sequence if the system is in the test menu. If the following conditions are met, when an activator is pressed, a sequence should start. The current date and time is correct and in the correct format. It is an operating day. Within the day's operating hours, there is a sequence available to play. There are no active alarm notices. Test each activator on the splash pad for correct operation. With the park operating through a sequence, the water display for each nozzle can be adjusted by using the flow control knob on the valve, clockwise for less water, counterclockwise for more water. Ground spray should be about 4 to 6 feet high. Small tipping buckets should dump every 12 to 15 seconds. Large buckets, like the Mega Soaker, should dump about every 45 to 60 seconds. Water hose take about 20 seconds to fill from the bottom nozzle. For components that have upward spraying nozzles, like the Polypalm, the water should be about 1 to 2 feet high. This is what we are aiming for. Replacement parts can be ordered from Waterplay. Call 250-712-3393 and ask to speak to the customer support person for the area you are calling from. This person can answer most of your questions, as well as furnish you with the owner's manuals and setup guides that you need. You can also email support@waterplay.com and provide your contact information. A customer service person will call or email you back. If you would like on-site assistance in starting up your water treatment system, please call Waterplay and ask to speak to a customer service person for your area. This concludes the spring start.